Yolan True, and welcome to another exciting day in our galaxy. Today I have another great crew for you, and that is the best PvP crew for explorers. PvP is player versus player, and since I was on other servers, the crews have changed a bit, and nowadays there is of course one really good PvP crew for interceptors. I talked about it in another video, but there's also one for explorers, and those officers are Yoon, Pon, and Ika. Never know how to pronounce that one. So let's have a look at them. Yoon is the captain, so we have to have a look at both of his abilities. He has a captain ability, a silver tongue, and that means on round start, Yoon has a 100% chance to apply morale for 3 rounds when fighting against players, if on an explorer. And the officer ability, Yoon increases weapon shots by 76% at the start of each round for 2 rounds when fighting players, if on an explorer with morale. So his captain ability is important for triggering the officer ability and not only for Yoon. That's why you have to make him the captain. And he's an epic, and the other 2 are rare officers anyway. Then let's have a look at the Jamada. His captain ability I can show you for a second, but it's not important now because I don't use him as a captain here. He would increase all mitigation stats by 20% for 1 round, every round when fighting players if on an explorer, but I'm using Yoon and not him. So we have to look at the officer ability. And that is Ika increases weapon damage by 53% at the start of each round for 3 rounds when fighting players, if on an explorer with morale. And so the captain ability of Yoon comes, and again we need morale. The percentages you see there are always depending on the level of the officer and so on, so that will be different in many cases. It's just the percentages I have at the moment. And we have a third officer, that is Pon. He of course has a captain ability we are not using here, but I still want to show it. Pon has a 10% chance at the start of combat to delay opponent weapons for 3 rounds while fighting players, if on an explorer. So this whole crew is only working on an explorer. And his officer ability we are using is Pon decreases opponent players' critical chance by 52% at the start of each round for 3 rounds, if on an explorer with morale. So he also needs to be on an explorer, and the explorer needs to have morale. That's why we need Yoon's captain ability here. You see, all 3 officers are made for explorers, and all 3 officers are made to function well with morale. Of course, there are other officers that can trigger morale. I can have more chances, not on this explorer because I'm not using him, but Harry Kim, if you have him on the lower deck, also has a chance to apply morale to your ship for 1 round, but only when fighting non-player hostiles or armadas. So Harry Kim will not trigger against players. And so that's another reason why you have to have Yoon. There's another lower deck officer you can use in PvP, that's Kira Nerys on the lower deck, because her guerrilla strategy is Kira Nerys reduces opponent player critical hit chance by 15%. So if you have any PvP crew and Kira Nerys on the lower deck, that will help you for this as well. But this is the best PvP bridge crew for an explorer that you can find at the moment. As I said in my other PvP crew video already, when I was on my last server, Lorca was the very best thing you can do in PvP, but that has changed since we got the Deep Space Nine stuff and here on this server in this arc now, or in recent arcs. And so Lorca is not that important anymore as he was on my last server. So things change over time. So that's why it's important to stay informed what is the current stuff. There's a lot stuff regularly coming up. We are having an incursion today again when I'm filming, and there's an incursion store again with officers I still don't have. That happens to me too, yes. And they introduced a lot of new officers over time, and they will continue to do so. With new ships come new officers. With new arcs, there are new officers, and so there's always new stuff to learn, new officers for new purposes. But at the moment, Yoon, Pon, and Ika are the best bridge crew for PvP on an Explorer. And if you're interested in more crews or ships or whatever topic, have a look in the end screen. There's the next video. I'll see you there. I'll be back.